Hi, Ben here at Numbergroup, here to give you the latest vlog, and today's subject is on UK numbering, or actually numbering in general. You get quite a few questions about numbering in general, so telephone numbers and so on and so forth, so I thought it would be good to give a general video that goes through all the different types of numbering that you can get in the UK, and also obviously internationally as well, and obviously help to answer a few questions that people have, and common questions that people have, and also to clear up any misconceptions or things they don't know about the numbering system. So, well, where to start? Numbers, or UK numbers, are all managed and supplied by Ofcom. They are the main sort of entity that manages the communications or system within the UK. So if you want a telephone number, and if you want to basically provide a telephone number on a service level, you have to basically request it from Ofcom. And that doesn't matter what number it is, they all have to come from Ofcom. And obviously there are lots of different types, and this obviously I'll go through the different different types, and I've given you a few examples and some little caveats and bits and bobs of knowledge that you may or may not know. So the first thing we'll touch on is the geographic numbers, or main numbers. Now, for those of you who remember back in the olden days, we always used to have, it used to be just the O and then the number of the area code. In 1995, obviously they rolled in the 1 into it to basically allow the separation of the spectrum because of the rise of mobile phones. So all geographic numbers then became O1. And obviously the different numbers coming after that, 3 digits normally, equate to the area that you are, the local telephone exchange where the numbers are allocated from. So fairly straightforward. I will focus on London because London seems to get, obviously, is quite popular being the capital of the UK. So I'll focus on London and a little bit and give you a bit more history about that. Obviously, in the past, in 1990, the London area code was split into 071 and 081, and obviously in 1995, when the numbering changed again, the 1 got put in, so it then became 0171 and 0181. Now, 081 was 0181 was always destined for outer London, and 0171 was then destined for inner London. Now, when the numbers changed again in 2000, and London changed to 020, they basically moved everyone who was on 0171 onto 0207, and anyone who was on 0181 onto 0208. And this is where the conceptions about inner London and outer London come from, whereas 0207 is considered to be inner London and 0208 is considered to be outer London. In essence, there is no difference between them whatsoever. It's quite interesting that even today you get a lot of people who say, I must have an 0207 number. It doesn't make a difference. They're all basically come under London. You could have someone in inner London using an 0208 number, and you can have someone in outer London using an 0207 number. It really makes no difference. Now, there are obviously some people who think that 0207 is a more desirable number because it's inner London. Once again, it literally came down to where the 0171 and 0181 numbers were provided. Now, that wasn't hard and fast. They did vary about, so there are possibilities that people with an 0171 number were in classes in the outer regions of London, so they would have got an 0207 number. Anyway, as a result of that, we had these 2 area codes come about. 0207 got used up very quickly, as you might imagine, London being the most populous city in the country. And 0181 and 0202, 0208, sorry, getting a bit confused there, followed quite quickly behind it. Nowadays, if you want an 0207 number, you will struggle because the allocation is almost completely used up. You will find telco providers who are charging extortionate amounts for these numbers because they can, and because there's obviously this historical thing about I must have an 0207 number if I'm in the centre of London. They will pay for it, and because obviously there's always a case of supply and demand, if a company has these numbers and they know they can charge a fortune for them, people buy them, they will do it. But the number of the matter is, it doesn't matter. If you have an office in the centre of London, you can use 0207, 0208 or 0203, which was the new number that was brought in 2005 due to obviously the depletion of the other ranges. And it makes no difference. People dial that number and they'll get through to you. It's a London number. There is no, nowadays 0207 and 0208 do not mean that you're in central London or the outskirts of London. They're just London numbers. So yeah, that's a general overview of the of London numbers in general, and how they work. Moving on from that, we now move on to the non-geographic numbers. Now, first of all, I'll focus on the 08 numbers first. The reason for that is just because they've been around longer than the other non-geographic numbers. So you then basically referred to as service numbers in essence. 084 and 083 were sort of lower cost service numbers that were used by companies for sort of on a non-geographic basis. So basically you could use that number and it didn't give away your geographic location around the country, which was fine. Then there was a higher rate 087 prefix that was used, and that obviously could be used by companies for whatever. Now, moving forward a few years, things have changed. 084 and 083 and 087 numbers can no longer be used for helplines or customer service lines, and this also includes post-sales lines. So if, let's say, you've bought a product and you needed some support on it and you called a company, they're legally not allowed to use an 084, 083 or 087 number to provide that service. It has to be a geographic number, 01, 02 or 03. Obviously 03 is not a geographic number, but it's low cost. We'll get on to that one in a minute. If it's a small company, so basically a single operator, they are allowed to use a mobile phone if they can, if they want to. But by and large, if you're a company, you cannot use 08 numbers. Well, you can use 0800 numbers, they're free phone, but once again, we'll get on to those in a minute. But you can't use 084, 083 or 087 numbers for customer service or helplines. You can still use them for sales and pre-sales lines. So if people are calling through inquiring about buying a product or buying a service, you can use those numbers. However, you do need to state in an opening greeting the cost of the call. If you don't, you will get into trouble, and I'll get into that in a minute. 087 numbers are classed as premium rate. They are classed as premium numbers, and this means they fall under the remit of the PSA or Phone Pay Plus, as they used to be called. Now, their rules state that if the cost of the call costs over 5.8p, excluding VAT, then you need to let them know. Now, there are obviously caveats to this. As 087 are more general numbers rather than the premium rate numbers, which we'll get onto later on, there are a few additional caveats with use to 087 ones. So, for example, if you're using an 087 number for general use, so just literally for your office number, you don't need to let the PSA know. The only time you need to let the PSA know is if you are using it for specific premium rate services. Now, those include things like chat lines, voting lines, general information lines, automated lines, stuff like that. If it falls into their specific service categories, before you can use an 087 one for that purpose, you need to A, register with the PSA, and 2, you need to tell them what the number's being used for. And if you don't, then you will get into trouble, and you could well end up being fined a large amount of money. So obviously do bear that in mind if you plan to use an 087 number. Some of you may notice within Numbergroup system on the self-care system, you will no longer have access to the 087 number ranges, and that is because we obviously need to vet whoever uses these numbers and make sure that if they are being used for commercial purposes, chat lines, whatever, that they have done this, because we obviously need to do our due diligence and we can get into trouble if we don't. So it's not the fact we don't supply them anymore, it's just the fact that we have to do additional checks before we can allocate them out. Now, 084 and 083 numbers were lower cost, so 0845 is one that people may remember, 0345 and stuff like that. They were obviously sort of general lower cost numbers, but they were more expensive than the general geographic calls. Now, obviously, because of the thing I just mentioned earlier on with regards to the change in the law back in 1997, I believe it was, with regards to the customer service lines. The companies complained to Ofcom to say, look, we can't use these numbers anymore, but we don't want to give away our geographic location because we just don't want to. So as a result of that, Ofcom then brought out a new range, which was the 03 range, which are also non-geographic numbers. But there's several differences between these and the 08 numbers. Now, initially, they were designed based as a low-cost alternative to 084 and 087 numbers, and 083 numbers as well. Initially, when Ofcom doled out the ranges, they doled out 034 and 037 in matching prefixes to the communication providers who had the matching 084, 087 ranges. So basically the idea is that if you had an 0871 number, you could go to the same people that you got your number from and you could say, could I please have a low cost alternative to this? And they would basically give you the exact same number, but it would be 037 instead of 087. And likewise for the 084, that would be 034. That was the general idea behind it. As time has gone on, obviously, the use of the 08 numbers has decreased massively, and as a result of that, Ofcom have rolled out additional ranges. Now, Numbergroup, for example, we provide 033X numbers, and if we can provide you non-geographic numbers with 033X, but we also have our matching 034 and 037 ranges as well. So anyone can take a non-geographic number. They're not basically restricted to businesses or anything like that. You know, in theory, a residential customer could use them if they wanted to. There is no physical restriction provided by Ofcom that restricts their use. And the idea is that as far as the consumer is concerned, Ofcom state they have to be included in bundled call packages, so 01, 02, 03. If you're calling from a mobile, for example, and so on and so forth. That's obviously for residential customers. Businesses are not applicable to this, so it's slightly different for businesses. But as far as residential customers are concerned, calls to 01, 02 and 03 numbers are all included in any calling package you have. Now, individual call costs may be high depending on the provider, but by and large, if you're retail, like if you're a residential customer, they will all cost the same amount. There will be sort of flat costs across the board. So that's the general consensus behind 03. The idea was obviously to provide a low-cost alternative to the 084, 087 numbers, but also maintain a non-geographic presence. So basically you couldn't be identified. It could be used anywhere around the country without any restrictions. Free phone numbers, 0800 0808, sort of fairly standard. They've been around for 20 plus years. They're free for anyone to call. It used to be charged if you called from a mobile. Recent law changes meant that mobile providers now need to provide calls to them for free as well. If you're calling from a UK landline mobile, it's free of charge. I believe the only exception is if you call from a payphone, although I might be wrong on that one, but who uses payphones these days? Mobile, 07X numbers. Now, obviously, 07 was brought in alongside the 01 back in 1995 in order to provide a separate range for the mobile providers, and they can therefore divvy up the spectrum and hand them out to different mobile carriers. That's basically what happened. Mobile providers go to them and request number ranges. They're just doled out by Ofcom as and when they're needed. There is a slight exception in 070 numbers, and they are personal numbers. Now, people say, well, what's a personal number? Well, personal numbers were basically designed years ago for people that wanted to do redirection services. So they wanted to provide a general number which people could phone into and they would redirect them somewhere else. It could also be, they also use pages as well. Obviously pages have died a death now, so they're not really using pages anymore. But they were basically used for network termination service, or NTS, to basically redirect elsewhere. The problem is that they're very expensive to call. It's a little bit odd because they're not classed as premium numbers, but they are charged at premium rates. It's a bit strange, I know, but that's just the way it is. So if you see a number that's 070, that's a personal number, and be wary of calling it because they are expensive to call. They're not standard mobile numbers. They do not go through to a mobile phone. They may eventually, but the first stage of the call will go through to a service provider who will redirect them elsewhere. Other thing I should mention about mobile numbers is that certain prefixes are provided to the outer islands, so Guernsey, Jersey, Isle of Man, etc. Now they basically they're no different from the standard mobile code as such. They're just 07 numbers, but they carry a higher charge than the standard mobile numbers, and that's obviously because the calls need to be terminated to those countries, and they obviously cost more to do so. Now, Numbergroup customers, you look at your rate card, you'll see you have UK Land, United Kingdom Mobile, and you also have United Kingdom Mobile Premium. And the premium prefixes are these ones, the ones that go through to these other carriers in the outlying sort of external countries that cost more money for us to terminate, and obviously that's why they cost more. Now the next one is premium rate. So premium rate numbers come under 09 and more recently 118. Now 09 are your old-fashioned high rate premium numbers, which were basically used for anything from sex lines, chat lines, tarot lines, voting lines. In fact, they still are today. You call through to a voting or on a TV show, it will normally be an 09 no number. They're obviously, if you use an 09 number, you have to be registered with the PSA. There is no sort of exceptions to this. No matter what you use it for, you have to be registered. You have to tell them what the company is, what it's doing, and what you're charging, and so on and so forth. 118s are used for directory inquiries, and these are even more highly regulated, mainly because the cost of calling them is much higher than 09 numbers. The cost of the calls can go as high as £8 per minute and a connection charge of up to £18. So we're talking a lot of money for calling some of these numbers. Now there are many different pricing bands for the 118 numbers, so they're not all the same. Some cost 25p to call and that's it, one-off charge. Others can go up to the complete other end of the spectrum where they're very expensive. If you're not sure about how much it is to call a 118 number, search for it online, because they have to basically display how much they cost to call. And if you want the information, you can usually find it from your telecommunications provider, and they will obviously tell you the cost of the call. Numbergroup customers cannot call 09 or 118 numbers. We have a flat block and ban on calling these numbers. The main reason being is that we find there's very little demand for it, and it just intends to end up with being abused if we do provide it. So if you try and call these numbers, it will just not work. The network blocks it, and we don't even have any tariffs in place for them for that exact reason. So that pretty much covers the United Kingdom. The only other thing I was going to touch on is international numbers. Now, the UK has a fairly liberal sense or liberal approach to providing numbers. People can come to us from abroad, any country, and say, I'd like a UK number. They can go to any reseller and buy a number and use it. Not a problem. And most countries around the world are pretty much the same. There are some restrictions though in certain countries. So if we go for an example, I mean, we've got places like Ireland, for example. If you want to buy a number in Ireland, you can do so, but you need to provide written proof that you have a business address in Ireland in order to do so, and the number is then registered against that address. If you are operating from France, for example, and you decide you want an Irish number but you have no physical presence in Ireland, you will not be able to get a number. It's as simple as that. Certain countries are even more strict. Singapore require a passport number, a company registration number and an address before they will even think about giving you a number. It then has to be verified, it then has to be checked, and even then they could just say, no, we don't want to give you a number. So if you come to us asking for an international number, we can usually provide it. It's not a problem. And I'm not saying that we can't provide you numbers in problematic countries, because we can, but bearing in mind we have to provide that information to our international number provider before they can get us the number. So if you come to us and say, I'd like a number of Singapore, and we say, okay, well, we need this, this, and this, and this, it's not us being pernickety or picky or anything. It's because that is what the telecommunication provider in that country is demanding before they will allocate you a number. So there are a few countries that have rules like this, so Croatia, Czech Republic, France, Netherlands, Norway and Hungary, some places around Europe that have these rules. So basically you have to have a registered address, and there are also restrictions on using free phone numbers and so forth in countries like this, and they won't allow you to basically, if you're a company registered outside the country, they will not allow you to use a free phone number, for example. So yeah, so I mean that's a general overview, and bearing in mind obviously that because obviously we cannot get allocations of numbers in these countries because we're not registered in that country, we have to buy the numbers in, which obviously then costs us a lot more. Unfortunately, that means we have to pass that charge on to you. So if you come to us requesting a number and we say, it's this amount of money, it is not us, vastly inflating the price. It is because we cannot physically get allocations in those countries. It's very, very complicated to get allocations in countries where you are physically operating. And if you are, then yeah, fine, you can get the numbers, but otherwise it's not easy, and you have to buy them in, and obviously that means it's going to another third party, and obviously that just winds the costs up even more. So yeah, that's basically it. The overview of numbering within the UK, and also a bit of touching on the international side of things. Now, if you found this interesting, please subscribe up there, and also there'll be another link to another video down there. If you have any comments, then please leave them below. And if you need any further information or support from ourselves, just please contact us, support@numbergroup.com, or alternatively, you can call us on 0800 310 1010. Alright, that's it for this week, and I'll catch you next week.